Good afternoon, Africa. Jambo Africa, Dumela Africa, Morning Africa, and I don't know what can I say in West Africa, but I think we should also greet our brothers in West Africa. We say greetings, or we say bonjour, Africa. Today we have come with a topic that we call 55 voices will not build Africa. Only one loud voice is the only voice that will bring our identity back as a continent, develop our continent, and make us first-class citizens as others. But if we have many voices, by now we speak of 55 voices, then we must not expect Africa to rise up and reach our destination or find our feet. Today's lecture is more about politics of Africa, economy of Africa, and identity of Africa. I was reading another article where I'm told that Chinese or China has an agenda against Africa. I'm told that by the year 2050, Africa will be owned by the Chinese. Their agenda and strategy says they want to make sure that their economy comes to Africa on a price. As I speak to you now, 50 million Chinese are living in Africa. They say they have been given an order that as you go to Africa, make sure you have 3 or 4 children. Meaning their agenda is by 2050, the population of China in Africa will be more than Africans ourselves. And then there's an agenda internationally, somewhere in the closed rooms, behind the scenes, where there is an agenda that African population must be deducted or reduced or downsized. You will not wonder that we hear that this is the peak. This is the peak of coronavirus in Africa. And some countries have already dug graves, 1.5 million, 2,000 graves. How do you know that this disease is going to kill that number of people? If you are not part of the killer, how do you get prepared on that? This alone tells us that Africa is against the policies of some people. It tells us that there is a plan somewhere that is planning against us. Because the plan is our population of African race must be downsized. Then the population of other people should be overpopulated in Africa. That one, I will tell you this, Africans, that the mistake that we have in Africa is that we got a lot of voices. In other words, we are just like an empty tin making noise, because our 55 voices are not heard within Africa, they are not heard internationally. No one is listening because we are making noise. All the voices we make is just like a noise. Now, what are we supposed to do? We were supposed to have one voice, just like the Chinese have. The Chinese have made their own voice, one. And their voice is, by 2050, we won't have resources to feed our people in China. Because China is too small compared to Africa. Therefore, they are thinking aloud, thinking they are outside the box. That is why, as I speak to you, we have 50 million Chinese in Africa. But pathetically, you will find that Africans are not allowed to live within Africa, just because they are coming from 55 different voices. When one voice from the 55th number wants to go and join the other voice from voice number 1, there is illegal you are illegal immigrants and you have to face the xenophobia. I want you to understand that Africa, we are a stupid continent. Let me use that word. So that it must hate us, it must pain us. 55 voices are what Africa is made of. But one voice of China is defeating 55 voices and make their plan part of our plan. Because we are developing Africa, but then when we are developing Africa, we must make sure that we add another voice, 56 voice of the Chinese, of which by now there are 50 million in Africa. A West African will know is not welcome in Southern African region. If he visits Southern Africa, he is an illegal immigrant. And Eastern Africa will never be allowed to be in Southern Africa. He is an illegal migrant. But the Chinese, because their father, their mother have already planned the agenda. When they come here, governments, 55 voices of governments in Africa, they welcome them, giving them permission, papers and everything. And you know what? It looks like we are a bewitched continent, because the people that we receive from China, they are either convicts, there are those that are illiterate, and those that are maybe people that have committed crimes. In that country, we welcome them here and call them part of Africa. Just because there's a bucket of money that our 55 voices are receiving from China. Chinese have a plan that they make, just like how the Western world made their plan against Africa. Our mistake as a continent is that we don't have one. If we say about agenda, African agenda, it's a political agenda. It's a political agenda. We want to rule ourselves. But while we rule ourselves, we don't have a think tank that decides for our continent. A person that decides for us is a politician. And I want to tell you, a politician is not a good thinker, because his term of thinking is either 5 to 10 years. So that person will not decide for this continent because he is thinking within a space of time. 5 years he should be in power. 10 years he must complete his terms. Thereafter, his thinking capacity stops. But the continent has to move. This is why we have many voices. It is because of politics. Because if there was no political power, we couldn't be having 55 voices. And if we are not careful, we are going to have more than 60. Why? Because northern Namibia, which is called Caprivi region today, will one day become a country on its own. Southern Zambia, or if you're not Western Zambia, it's going to be on an independent nation, Balotseland. In Namibia, it's going to be Caprivi. Meaning the voices will keep on adding and adding. Northern Nigeria, Maiduguri, that side, is going to be another nation. We are still adding voices. And there are two things that we need to consider here. Why is Africa thinking of continuing adding more voices? Why don't we find a solution? It's because of our political myopia. Africa has the blindness of not understanding our politics. I'll give you the history of America. In 1770, Americans started fighting individually. Everyone was fighting wherever they were, in their countries. Then there were 55 great men that decided that for us to fight individually, we will not defeat the British. The best we can, let's come together. 55 men. Then we scribe, we sign a declaration, a document that will tell the British that we are done with you. We are done with you and we don't need you. But whatever happens afterwards when you leave, it's our own problem. And they scribed what they call Declaration of Independence. That document gave the Americans a big continent independence. That was 1776 on 4th July. Despite these 54 men 55 men having to scribe this document. There was an agenda, what they call American dream. The dream was they should never be under the umbrella or armpit of any other colonizer again. So they had this plan. How do we succeed? We must make that master and us come together. I will tell you this. A number of the British that were ruling America by then, when independence was granted, no one went back to Britain. That's the secret of Americans. Today, America and Britain, they behave, they act more like brothers and sisters, or a mother and a father, because no one went back after independence. They remained Americans. In addition to that, they instituted institutions that are think tanks that thinks about America in the next 20, 50, 80, 100 years. Now I'll tell you this about Africa. It started in 1963 when there were people of visions. Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure, Muhammad Kita. Those people thought that we need to have a roadmap. Even though we'll be fighting for independence in our individual states, but we need a roadmap about this continent. Then Kwame Nkrumah declared, our independence in Ghana has no meaning, will have no meaning if the whole of Africa is still not free. And I'll tell you this, with that word, there was a secret school, there was a secret committee of Organization of Africa Union that was funding, that was providing, that was giving space to freedom fighters. By then, the people like Nelson Mandela had to fly to Libya with a document, a passport from another country. Sam Nujoma could live in Namibia, Southwest Africa then, with a document from Malawi. And he was a Malawian by then to be allowed to fly out, to get out of Namibia, until he reached Tanzania, until he reached Ghana, and went to America. That spirit today has been buried. Today, if you are fighting for your country, you are not allowed to go in any other country to seek space or to find comfort where